I've been moving by myself since I was 17. And then each time I managed to pull myself up. And then each time I managed to build a community around myself. And then I think I was doing well in my own definition. So really, I believe any situation I can do well.
Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to the Age of Tech podcast. And normally I ask before we start recording how to pronounce someone's name just so I get it right, but I did not do that. Wait, it's okay. We are joined today by Jingjing Zhong, a co-founder of Superbench. I got it. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for pronouncing my name correctly.
I actually bet, just based on my limited knowledge of Chinese characters, I bet I could guess what your name means.
Okay, go ahead.
I bet it means like, and it's doubled, right?
Yeah.
So there are two characters in a row and they're the same character. And I bet it means something like quiet or calm.
Oh, that's Jingjing. So
Yeah, see, I guessed. Because there's a Japanese name that's similar, right? Shizuka. It's the same character. Anyway.
Yeah, I tend to tell people phonetically it's same as gold or sparkly. But actually it's, so normally I tell people, right? So you know the capital city in China, Beijing, right?
Yep.
Drop Bei, double Jing.
Got it. Okay, easy.
Yes, that's
easy.
I'm the capital city. Yes.
I'm the capital city. Yes. When your parents named you, they were serious. They were definitely serious. The shiny thing. That's great.
Well, no, actually, this was supposed to be my baby name. And they just never bothered to give me a full name.
I love it.
And then my grandma actually gave me that because when I was born, she was in Beijing having a business trip. So like, oh, your granddaughter is born. Do you want to give her a name? She's like, oh, I'm in Beijing now right now. Just call her Jingjing for now.
For now.
Yeah. And then that's forever.
I like it. For now, forever. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, let's do this. Let's give our listeners a little bit more of your background for some context.
Okay.
Because you're not in Beijing for sure.
No, I'm not. So I'm certified Chinese. Chinese passport, born and raised there. And then
oh wow.
I'm sorry?
I said, oh wow, where?
Chengdu.
Chengdu. Oh my God. I was with somebody last night talking about business who was also born in Chengdu and is actually going back there today. Anyway, go ahead.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you should 100% visit. Pandas.
I visited way before you were born. I was in Chengdu in 1991.
Right. That's before I was born. You're right. Yes. So I went to US when I was 17. Went to Alabama. That's where I learned English. And then I went to LA, finished community college, went to Berkeley, graduated there, become an investment banker because I wanted to make money. And did banking in San Francisco, lost my visa in the US because Trump, H-1B, and then went to London, finished banking there. After that, I just questioned my life because we did a deal. It was gambling deal. Two largest online betting company merged together. And once they merge together, they just do all the crazy stuff that's not good for the humanity. That challenged me quite a bit. And that's when I decided that, you know what, I love startup. I knew I always wanted to work with people. And I found this company that does cleaning. It's called Helpling. It's a polar opposite of making money, right?
Well, Helpling. People definitely need cleaning. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so I joined them. So it's a platform for home services. So think Uber for home services.
Yep.
So I joined them, came to Singapore for the first time with this job. And then from that point on, grew Helpling from $1 million to 30 million AR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. And then I was 28. And then I decided that I have no dad, no dog, no husband.
You did not just make that up. Those are three D's. You didn't just make that up, did you?
No, I did not make it up. It's actually true. I was thinking, really, I have nothing to lose. I really have nothing to lose, right? So I decided to take some risks with my life. And that's when also went for some soul searching. And then now I'm here.
It takes a certain kind of person to drop out and become an entrepreneur, right? It's not for everybody. And it's not a value judgment either, right? Some people, we were talking about this before we started recording, some people are just much more comfortable taking the more stable route.
Yeah.
What is it about you? Like, where does it come from, this idea of, you know what? no debt, no dog, no, what was the other one? Husband? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Husband. Yeah. We can talk about that later. Anyway, that said, like, never mind. I don't care. I'll just take this risk. If worse comes to worse, I'll go get a job somewhere, kind of thing. Like, where does that come from?
I guess it comes from a few things because I've been moving by myself since I was 17. Actually, even
Yeah.
slightly before that, I've been going to boarding school, right? So I applied for PR in Singapore 3 years ago. And then there's a place where you need to fill out all your residential address, every single place where you stay, 6 months or more, right?
Or more.
I
Yeah.
think they have like 10 different columns. I ran out of columns and I had to keep adding, keep adding. And I realized, wow, I've been going around the world by myself. And then each time I managed to pull myself up. And then each time I managed to build a community around myself. And then I think I was doing well in my own definition. So really, I believe any situation I can do well.
It's so funny because this woman that I was talking to last night, also from Chengdu, she just said in passing, because I said to her, "Are you still friends with all the people you went to boarding school with, right, in China?" And she was like, she said to me, "Well, we're all only children.
Yeah.
So we got to be really close." I hadn't, when I was growing up, right, I understood like the one child policy, but it was so distant to me
Yeah.
that I never really thought about it as I got older. And I was actually just about to ask her last night, like, do you have any brothers and sisters, before she said that. And I thought, oh my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are tons of just only children. And what it does is it makes, I presume you're an only child, no?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that makes you super resilient. Super resilient. My daughter's an only child as well.
You see two different kind of people.
Sure.
There are prince and princesses, or there are other type that's the only labor of the household.
Yeah, I got it.
Right?
Yeah.
If you go to China, talk to those single child who are still there, most probably going to meet the prince and princesses.
Okay.
But for people who have left home and then they're still the only child, probably they will behave slightly differently.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think there's a personality, there's an embedded personality trait that separates those people. Even if your parents spoiled you like crazy, sometimes you don't turn into a prince or a princess if you're really resilient and also really just aggressive. Anyway, very interesting. Yeah, I can see you thinking about it.
I feel like resilience is something you pick up from
For sure.
suffering well.
Yeah. Look, I moved around a lot as a kid as well, and I think it made me super resilient. Same as you. Maybe not as many times, but I remember like every time I moved, I thought, you know what? I can do this.
Yeah.
So talk to me. So you were working at Helpling. I like the name.
Yes.
Helpling. But now you're doing something called Superbench. So talk to me about what Superbench is, and then talk to me about why.
Yeah. So Superbench is an AI-powered operating system for home services companies. So think about it like a backend and with an AI coordinator attached to it. The job here is the AI can help companies to coordinate with their customers and their staff. So give you a scenario, Michael. Now you run a plumbing company, okay? You have 7 plumbers and 83 customers who needs help next week.
Yep.
Okay? Michael, I need your help to plan their schedule for next week for this 7.
It's a nightmare.
But you're smart. You can still figure it out in spreadsheets, right? Like you used to be a banker. You know how to use spreadsheets, okay? So now you figure it out. You have to call all these 83 customers, tell them that, hey, your schedule is Wednesday morning. If one customer says, no, I don't want it, you have to replan the whole thing, right?
Exactly. Too many moving pieces, yeah.
But the reality is that every single customer wants morning.
Yeah, probably because they don't want to impact the middle of their day. I hadn't thought about it, right? But like, let's get it done by 10 or 11, and then I can do my rest of the day. I start a little bit later, but I can end later as well. Whereas if it's at 3:00 in the afternoon, like I can't leave my job and I can't go back.
No.
And then when do I pick up my kid, and like nothing works anymore. And again, I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday about something else. If one person cancels, it doesn't just impact that one person. It impacts the entire scheduling and their families and their grandkids and like everything. So it's a complete nightmare. Is this something that grew out of your work at Helpling?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it's the same thing. You're thinking there's got to be a better way for everybody to schedule. I'm going to go build that thing.
Yeah. So it's not just a scheduling problem. When you want to book a service, it's a 5 component. It's what day and time, where, what's the scope. After scope is aligning on pricing, eventually who's delivering the service, because that person going to your home. So this is a trust
Right.
factor there. So 5 things, right? You have to align
Okay.
all these 5 things up front. Otherwise, your sales from the company's perspective is incomplete. Your schedule, your appointment is not settled, right? So with these 5 things you have to align up front, there's a lot of back-end operations, communication that has to happen to align with what the customer wants. So if we can do this instantly, then I can make that sale instantly. That will improve the conversion a lot more, right? That also make end consumers experience much better. So what I'm trying to do is basically with AI. So yeah.
So let's walk through this, right? And I like to do this in maybe like a 2-person, like a 2 customer scenario with like a 2 plumber scenario, right? In one company. Let's just do it this way.
Yeah.
Both of us want to be scheduled at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So somebody has to have no said to them. Already that's a bad experience. Right? I can't be no, I can't leave at 11. I already scheduled the other guy at 10, right?
Yeah.
But if anything changes, I can always just pick up the phone or text somebody, I'm guessing, right? But you could pick up the phone and say, look, I cannot do 10 o'clock for you. And you just go back and forth, you fix it. 2 people, one of them's not so satisfied, one of them is. Not everybody wins, but most people win.
Yeah.
But that communication part is actually really important, no?
It is 100%. And
it goes all the way around too. So the plumbers have to be, spoken to, the dispatcher essentially has to be spoken to, and then the client. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, 100%. But the thing is that, for example, if you want to schedule a haircut appointment, right? You go to your barber, you're like, I want to get a haircut at 2 p.m. They're like, oh, 2 p.m. and book. What about 3? It's common, right?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. But
all the time.
You don't get upset. You kind of understand it because people are busy too, right?
Yep.
But the key is that if they don't tell you, sorry, 2 p.m. doesn't work. Instead, they wait for 3 hours, then tell you, sorry, 2 p.m. doesn't work. That creates frustration.
Frustration creates anger. Yes, serious anger. Why didn't you tell me?
But if they tell you right there, on the spot, instantly, that's acceptable.
So what does it look like? Yeah, I may not be happy, but at least I've been told, right? And this happens all the time. My barber, I go in and I'm like, can I do it now? And they're like, well, we're super busy today. How about tomorrow? And I can see the schedule. Yeah. Fair enough. I just do tomorrow at 2 o'clock and I walk out. But how does it work with AI? I'm really curious about the process.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So basically, for example, Michael, you want to book a cleaning for next Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Okay? You submit a request, and AI would take your address, your zip code, and also your time you were requested, the end time, and the job that to be done, right? And then we'll go to the back end and take all this information, and it's a traditional engineering process. It's a rule-based matching. We'll figure out, okay, number 1, who is free? Number 2, out of all the people who are free, do we have someone who can get the job done? Number 3, who's the closest? And if we have someone, come back, yes. If we don't have someone, we'll figure out who's the best person for the job and come back to you with a proposed time.
Can I ask you a question about this?
Yes.
I do this all the time. And tell me you haven't had this experience. You get into a Grab or an Uber, right?
Yeah.
And the driver's just so good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she's so nice to you and she's really polite and she's driving just fast enough, but not too fast. You just have a killer experience and you just say, do you have a card? Because in Grab, like, you can't order the person.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So for me, and again, you said it's trust, right? This is really important to me. If I'm going to let somebody into my house, at some point, I want the same guy to cut my hair. Right? Like when I walk into the barber, I'm not like anybody can cut my hair. And it's the same thing for plumbing because that's the example we're using. Yes. Is there a way to use the AI to understand that not only is somebody available, somebody's in my neighborhood, someone's available at that time, somebody has the skill, but it's the same person that did it last time and I want that person back kind of thing?
Yes, there are customers coming in just straight up asking, hey, I like Uncle Wong.
Yeah.
He's very good. When is he free? Then we just check his schedule and then we recommend a slot where he's free.
Got it. And have you built all this tech?
Yeah.
This is really complicated, no?
It's not that complicated.
Really?
It's because the whole matching algorithm, it's a static rule-based matching.
Got it. Okay.
Do it with spreadsheets. So the thing is that, Okay, the reason for me is not that complicated is because I've done it with people and process and data at Helpling, right? We have an
Yeah.
army of people to ensure this instant back and forth happens. Otherwise, you lose customer. The moment they have to wait for a no, that's a hard no.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can get a no instantly, and then if you recommend a different slot, likely they will be okay with it. We
Right.
have to make sure this time, the speed is the key here. And that's
For
what we're
sure.
trying to do with AI. Yeah.
Did you read, and I'm trying to remember where I read this, but did you read about this story where Amazon is shutting down some of their stores that they have where you're just supposed to walk in, pick products up off the shelf, put it in your own bag, and then just walk out and then you get a receipt and a bill afterwards? Have you heard about these
I've
stores?
heard of these stores. They're shutting it down.
They're shutting some of them down. I think, unless we can check this when we're done recording, but I'm pretty sure I read this or heard this somewhere. And one of the reasons why, right, was because it was supposed to be a massive cost savings for them, right? Because it was all AI
Yeah.
enabled
Yeah.
and all, machine learning in the background. And apparently what they had done was, because they had cameras and sensors in the store.
Right.
So apparently what they had done was they had hired an entire team of people in Bangalore or somewhere in India
Uh-huh.
to watch the camera footage in real time and just write down, that guy bought Q-tips, that guy just bought shampoo, that guy just bought this. And that's why it was taking a few hours to get the receipts to people, because they wanted to confirm.
Really?
Yeah, because it was that hard of a problem. What you're doing is different, but I just thought it was really funny that in this whole AI hullabaloo, that even Amazon, with all of the resources that they have, couldn't at least get it done yet. But it's different than what you're doing. But I just thought it was a funny story that I would just share with you
I
because
mean,
it just reminded me.
I assume that probably it was their MVP, and then
Yeah, for sure. They'll come back with it for sure.
yeah.
But I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I think for AI, right, there are a lot of challenges building with generative AI as well, right? For example, multi-agent framework. Maybe just for everyone's purpose, right? I'll explain.
Go for it. Yeah.
So, a generative AI, if you ask it to do one single thing, it's very good, right? For if you tell it,
Yeah.
your job is a math teacher. Now you have, well, sorry, this is terrible. AI is terrible at math. Your job is to create a beautiful paragraph. Use this to fit into some Taylor Swift song, right? Then that got one job very well. However, if you say that your job is Taylor Swift's marketing manager plus her graphic designer plus her accountant, then they start hallucinating.
Impossible.
So if you want to create Taylor Swift best assistant, you have to create different agents for different roles specifically and piece together, then you get one thing, right? So, but this is what we call multi-agent. Each agent has its own role. However, if one rely on another person's cues to do their job, if one person hallucinates 10%, the second person will hallucinate 20%, the third person, by the end of it, you're going to get a terrible thing.
A bunch of drunk agents, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
it's going to be a bad outcome.
This is the problem with multi-agent framework. So this is a challenge that no one really have solved it yet. So everyone's trying ways to make it better. But yeah.
To be fair, we have the same problems for humans, right? If I'm working at Morgan Stanley and I say to the guy sitting next to me, can you please take care of this thing for me? And he's like, I'll do it. But he kind of didn't 100% understand what I said, but didn't ask the next question. And then he goes to the other office and tells some lady to do the other thing. And then she goes and tells somebody else to do something. By the time it comes back to me, it's all wrong. And I'm like, why? Yeah. So it's not even that easy to solve for humans who are talking directly to each other and are meant to be educated. I think this is going to be really hard to solve with tech. Can I ask you this too, though? And again, just because you use plumbing as the example, these are kind of fundamentally small businesses. Right. So there are a few challenges here. I think some small businesses try to write their own software. I've done it myself kind of thing. I'll just write my own scheduling spreadsheet or scheduling software. But then, which is hard to do and hard to maintain. And as things change, it's hard to keep up. But on the flip side, because they're small businesses, they don't have an IT department. So how do you handle that? Because to me, and you mentioned this to me, right? This is not my idea, but I think if you're a small company and you're not putting tech into it, you're dead. At some level, no?
Yes. So either they're stuck at, let's say, 5 headcount and just making, a few thousands a month, or the moment they start scaling, they realize that the bigger the revenue it is, the smaller the margin will get. The unit economic doesn't make sense anymore. And that's when they will start thinking about what part of it goes wrong. right? So if they write their own software, a lot of times because there are a lot of operational gaps, and they try to fix it
Yeah.
with people. And when they write software, they try to write software for the people's gaps, right? And that's when the
Okay.
kind of band-aid solution. So if you don't ever change the process, the operations, and you try to buy a different tech to fix as a stopgap measure, it will never work, right?
Mm,
That's called what we call
right.
customized solution. And so that's why a lot of companies, when they want to grow, they also have to restructure the whole how the company want to the org structure. So
Yeah.
and that's when what that's why for these mom and pop shop, when they go through digital transformation, is so difficult, because they will realize it's not just implementing tech, it's also operation process,
No.
it's also people. And the moment tech can do something that people used to do, they feel threatened, right? You will have resistance from the ground. It's like, oh, this technology is not good because it takes our customers information. No, it's they feel threatened. Yeah.
Right. 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 Which is fair. But again, the implementation stuff is always more complex, I think, than some of these companies at least initially realize. Because you're right, it's not just inputting tech, and then keeping all the business processes the
Hmm.
same at all, actually. As a matter of fact, when you input tech into a business, and we saw this even at Morgan Stanley and at Goldman Sachs, the process is different, because now you can do things you couldn't do before. You can do them better, you can do them faster, you can do them in a more productive
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
But the whole flow changes, because now you can like do this thing beforehand because it already has the information that maybe you got afterwards. It's just a different business flow. And how does that work in these small companies? Like, how do they even get their heads around this?
Well, they just basically hire more people to kind of fix the problem
Yeah.
until their margin is so thin, right? So
Yeah.
for kind of in my industry, at least for home services, it's such an operational heavy business, right? So you realize
Mm-mm.
that companies 99% of the time they run the whole operations through chats. Every single thing, like
Okay.
who goes to where, who should take this customer, everything's through conversation. It's a discussion amongst the team. And so the source of the data, that's where it's crucial. It's from customers' conversation and internal conversation, right? If you're able to aggregate the raw data from the source and then pass them in the right way, then you don't need people, let's say coordinators in the middle to coordinate, right? If you have these,
Yeah.
if you can extract the raw data and present it in a way that every single department, the moment they log into the system, they know, then they don't have to talk to each other anymore because they can just see it. They don't have to check, hey, is he really on the way? Does he have a job? Can Jim takes this job, right? um then that
Yep.
way, that really fill in a lot of communication gaps, and also for them to hire more people.
So what does that mean? Does that mean you connect your system, your back-end operating system, right? And I love the fact that you call it an operating system, because from a business perspective, those are the best businesses, right? You're not building a product.
Yeah.
You're building a platform. And that's way better, I think. Sorry, did I interrupted you?
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, not a problem. So yes, it is a goal to build the future of operating system. So if you think about it from the past, right? We call it
Yep.
ServiceNow for Asia, right? ServiceNow is the
Okay.
operating system for service industry. They allowed you to have, let's say, customer information (CRM), and also the supply, the workers' information like calendar,
Mm-hmm.
everything in one place. So you can do invoicing, customer acquisition, assigning jobs, notifying jobs, doing payroll, everything in one place, right? The problem with that is that it's so complicated. It's a huge onboarding process with data ingestion problem, right?
Yeah.
And then companies, they have to have a separate IT in order for them to kind of use software like this. I believe in the future, an operating system should be something that's super easy for people to come on board, right? You just have raw data, ingest it, done. And for people who are using it, they don't need to know where to go to find the information. They just ask.
Right.
So it's not going to be click this button, step one, click this button, step two, click this button, step three, cancel, and then do one, two, three, right? It's like, can
Right.
you help me to understand who went to Michael's home last time? Who fixed Michael's plumbing issue last time? When is this
Right.
person free next? Assign
Right.
this person to Michael on next Wednesday morning. Right? That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that's the future of operating system. So is this going to be a platform? Potentially. We've tried it, right? We built a platform, but I realized maybe that's not going to add so much value. We still have it, but what's really going to be important is the data, how clean the data is, because that would determine whether your AI can do the job or not.
What type of I'm just thinking about the implications here, right? So what type of interaction would, say, like a plumber have? And again, we're just going to use this the whole
Yeah.
time, right? So when his job is finished, when he's actually done the job, does he just say like, okay, I finished at Michael's apartment, everything's done? Do you know what I mean? Does he have to click something? And if he doesn't do that, because you're talking about clean data, right? I think about this all the time. If I get, and I'm thinking about sitting on the portfolio trading desk at Goldman Sachs, if a client sends me an order, right, for 6758, which, if my memory serves me correct, is Sony, right? But I put in an order for 6578. It's all wrong, right? And we built a whole bunch of technology around that interaction to make sure that we were never wrong, because it's fatal.
Mhm.
Plumbing's not fatal, but it's still bad, right? So how do you ensure that all of the data that you want to be cleaned is clean? Do you know what I mean? After the work is done, or anywhere in the process? Yeah, because that's tricky, no?
So there's two parts. Number one is you need to have clean data to begin with. So the data cleaning and data ingestion problem. Second part is to keep the data in sync and constantly updated, right? So the updating data part, you need to first figure out, are we using people to updating it right now? If it is, how can we automate that process? How can we trigger people to best updating this data? If people are updating data, literally they have to go in Google Sheets to key it in. Obviously, you're gonna get tons of mistakes. If you just ask people, send your WhatsApp question, Michael, how was the plumbing? And if you don't reply, then I will send a message to, let's say, the plumber. Did you finish? Right? Let's say your appointment is from 3 to 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., I'm going to send both sides a message. So for you, it's like, oh, the company is like actually checking whether I'm satisfied with the service. On the plumber side, it's like, oh, did you finish? Let's say if they extended an hour, let's say it's an hourly service, then I would know, right? Like, oh, if plumber reply at 6:30 saying that I just finished, then I know for this job, it actually took them longer. Then I will know, maybe I'll notify the next customer, sorry, the last job lasts longer. He'll be 30 minutes late. Imagine that experience.
Right. So I love this. So let's run through this again, just really quickly from a flow perspective. I put in an order. I need some work done in my house. I put it in an order. Your system grabs it. It does all this work in the back end to see, do I want the same person I had before? What neighborhood am I in? How much did I pay? Like, what is the skill that's necessary to do this? And is anybody in that area available at the time that I want? Let's just say that works. But now your operating system now has all of that data. It knows that that's been agreed upon service, right, between me and whomever you're sending. And it also knows the times. It also knows that if they're coming at 9 o'clock in the morning, they're probably going to be finished by 11. So you can actually have a time-based event that sends a text to me, because I've allowed you to do it, that says, hey, how was your experience today? And even if I just write back, okay, you know it's done. And then that triggers internally going, okay, now I can take that data, put it into my real database, and know that like that thing happened at this price, at that time, by this person, with that payment.
Exactly. Your okay triggers payment. If you reply
I like it.
Not okay, immediately you're gonna get a call from someone. That's a proper on the ground offline experience feedback, right? In the future, the key for companies to have good retention is to collect these feedback loop. And how do we link it up? Is one, just by asking the customer, how was the job, right? You incentivize customers to tell you exactly what happened. If they just say, okay, you can ask more questions. Did he arrive on time? Did he quote you this amount exactly? For example, like aircon cleaning, a lot of them upsell you on the spot, right? Did he upsell you? How was that?
Really? For air conditioning cleaning? Really? What's the upsell?
Yeah, so they will try to upsell
aircon cleaning with fries? Like,
they will upsell chemical.
Say it again. What's the upsell?
So chemical washing. So normally an aircon cleaning costs like $50, but the moment it's chemical washing, that 5x the average order per trip. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
I love it.
Otherwise, for aircon cleaning, imagine, right? They have to go through 8 houses a day in order for them to break even. If they can upsell, it's 3 houses.
Got it. Of course, 'cause it's 5 times the price or 4 times the price, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Really interesting. So what's the status of Superbench right now?
So we have 4 design partners at this point in time, so 4 clients, and we're building with them. What I want to do is to really we've ran some tests with our clients. So because we're booking customers in instantly and scheduling them instantly, we were able to increase the conversion from 20% is like an industry standard. So from inquiry, hello, to pre-event pay confirming the event, right?
Right.
From about 20% to 50%. So
Okay, that's more than a little.
yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
lot. It's
imagine
amazing.
your marketing dollar, the ROI is so much higher because now you spend the same money, but you acquire a lot more customers because conversion is much higher.
Yeah.
So we want to expand this with all 6 design partners that we will have. I want the whole industry be like, what are they doing? How
Yeah.
can they spend so much money on marketing now? Well, because the CAC is really low. Guess what? Because the conversion is insane. And I think we want to experiment a lot more with this piece. We want to see conversion uplift, sales uplift, but also on a cost saving side because sales and scheduling it's about 80% of the total conversation that they have. So if we
Got
can
it.
automate this, that's a huge cost saving initiative for these companies as well.
And when did you start actually working with these partners?
Um,
Like, is it a year ago? Is it recently?
so we officially registered the company in Singapore in September last year. And
Okay.
then we finished kind of ideating in October-ish, and we really started this year, January.
It sounds like it's going really well. And have you raised any
Yes,
money?
I did. So, yeah, I finished fundraising in January. So I would say we actually started in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is before you saw these conversion changes and the customers coming on board. So somebody who saw this actually believed in it, yeah?
Yeah, because I solved this with people and process at Helpling.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's not shocking for me that it did. It's just that sometimes the venture capital community or even the angel community can be a little bit slow in understanding things, right? Even if you know it's going to work, right? Even if you go in with 100% pure passion and like, I've already done this over there, they're still sometimes are a little bit slow in saying, okay,
Yeah.
because they're so risk averse. It's just been my experience anyway.
I guess I'm lucky. I do tell people that I feel like I'm lucky in during my fundraising journey. Right? Like, because I know a lot of people, I think a lot of people are talking about creating luck. And I think I leveraged that quite well back then when I was in Helpling. So I know a lot of people in
Yeah.
Singapore, and that really helped.
Yeah, I kind of like to use the word fortunate, and unless you're going to define luck and fortune as the same thing, right? Because I think you could definitely create your own fortunateness, right? But just like working really hard, being really smart, and doing the right things. And the other thing as well is, I think people that have, I want to back up for a second. I think charisma is something you can't buy, you can't teach, and you can't learn. I just don't think you can. I think you either have it or you don't. And maybe that's one of the fortunate aspects of you is that there's a certain amount of charisma there that when you walk in the room, people feel like, I think I can trust her. And she feels like she knows what she's talking about.
Thank you.
No?
I think, yeah, I guess this is like part of luck. Previously when I was recruiting cleaners at Helpling, so during COVID, we recruited a lot of Vietnamese cleaners
Yeah.
because, they used to clean hotel. They don't have job anymore. We want to train them, repurpose them for home cleaning. Obviously, I don't speak Vietnamese. I speak Chinese. And then this one lady, she came in, and she doesn't really speak English as well. She says, "You have good face." What does that mean? Yeah.
But tell me this too. I think a kid learns really early on in their life whether they don't understand the word charisma, right? But this idea that they can just kind of figure out a way to get things done and get the things that they need. And I think that as you continue to get older, then you realize, oh, that's the Riz that everyone's talking about kind of thing. And then once you learn how to employ it, then you're unstoppable, like unstoppable.
I think a different way to say this is know your strength and creating leverage based on the strength. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, same
Yeah,
thing.
same thing.
Same.
Same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Look, let's do this. There's so much more to talk about, but I want to leave a little bit on the table, right? Because if you started in January of this
Yeah.
year, and what are we, end of April?
Yeah. And every-
It's 4 months in. I want you to commit to coming back on like in October.
Okay.
Please.
Sounds good.
Please. Because I want to see what happens now that you're not testing, right? But now that you have clients
Yeah.
on board, the system's working, things are going back and forth, things are going to get way more complex, right? It feels like, oh, it's just this rules-based thing and it's going to be okay. But there's always things that are unanticipated.
Yes.
I'm sure you're going to be able to solve them, but I want to find out how that happened and what happened and like whether somebody came and asked you if you wanted to raise more money and all these other things that happen after you're in market. Remember, we talked before we started recording about the more experience you have, the more context you have, and then the more things you can learn. So I know you did a whole bunch of really great stuff at Helpling, and now you're employing a lot of that knowledge now at
Superbench.
Superbench. But now it's your own. I want to see what happens. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. I love this too. It's like keeping myself accountable. Within 8 months, I need to come back with 1,000,000 ARR. Yes.
No, you don't. I mean, you can though. You can though. It's not a problem. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to thank you, Jingjing Zhong, a co-founder of Superbench. That was awesome.
Thank you, Michael.
I cannot wait to come back and do this again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael.